is constructing identity, the use of Southern grammatical features to create community. Persona.
Thank you very much. I actually changed the title of my talk by one word, and so it's the use of Southern grammatical features to create a community voice. I just decided along the way that was more appropriate. The Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina are well known for scenic drives, out-of-the-way family-style restaurants, and rustic campgrounds. Also associated with this area are the bleak images of isolated homesteads, quaint townships, and mountain folk unfamiliar with the trappings of civilized society. Things like indoor plumbing, color television, and more recently, cell phones and internet access. All of these are, one supposes, stereotypes that often cling to places where there are traditionally more cows than people. In spite of these unfair associations, or perhaps because of them, many small towns along the Blue Ridge Parkway are being developed into and marketed as vacation spots because they are serene, quaint, and unspoiled. One such town is Jefferson, a small rural town populated with a 2,000 population of 1,422, home to a newly developed golf resort recently built on land that used to be a family-owned dairy farm. Vacationers and retirees can now play golf at the foot of Mount Jefferson on courses that run alongside the New River. Despite the fact that Jefferson lies within a dry county, Ashe County, the golf resort's 32,000 square foot clubhouse houses a bar, a fact that has caused much consternation among Jefferson's conservative Southern Baptist residents. This clash of culture serves as a backdrop for social changes that must be made by longtime Jefferson residents. The folks whose families have lived, worked, and died in Jefferson for generations have to decide: adapt to the changes threading through the town, or resist the changes in favor of a more traditional lifestyle. This identity-oriented choice is reflected in the community speech patterns. The extent to which community members use the traditional Southern language features associated with the Appalachian vernacular signals each member's alignment with tradition or with change. Looking at the Southern grammatical features specifically, one sees that individual features function within the community speech differently, some serving as markers for age or education level, some serving to construct what I call a community voice. The latter include grammatical features long associated with Southern English and its Appalachian speakers, in prefixing and non-standard past tense. The former include less pervasive, at least in the literature, Southern grammatical features such as irregular prepositions, intensifying right, inceptive get to, got to, and an either-or construction. A number of Southern grammatical features that demonstrate a number of Southern grammatical features found in the speech of Jefferson residents are not restricted to use by any particular age group, but seem to be part of the general Jefferson speech, and indeed are found in the speech of many Southerners. So the first one, inceptive get to, got to. I'm just going to run through these quickly because they're entertaining. Inceptive get to, got to is a grammatical feature that demonstrates the onset of an action, and specifically an action that's taking place while something else is going on. And so since I got thinking about it and decided that a trip wasn't a good idea, to me indicates that I had been planning on taking the trip, but once I started giving the plan serious thought, realized that it wasn't such a good idea. Examples from the Jefferson data include, we got to talking and the cows got to going so fast the ponies couldn't keep up with them, they got to drinking that morning and decided to go, I got to thinking about when Daddy was in service, and him and her got to chewing up paper wads and throwing at one another. That's a good story. perhaps unexpected. As a personal example, one can take my own use of put up, as in when you put up the dishes, please, honey, instead of put away, a phrase that my husband insists is not only more correct, but also more accurate. The Jefferson data contains several examples of irregular creative prepositions. In some cases, it's an unexpected preposition, like the first one, he lived at High Point, and I had a bunch of these, where you had the use of at instead of in. He works at Wilkesboro, which to me sounds odd. In other cases, the prepositions are stacked for at a meeting. There's a guy that used to live off down next to the river. Very nice vivid description. And she was up in 80 when she died, which I think I know what that means. These stacked prepositions allow for more precise descriptions. Still other cases involve a phrase deemed part of vernacular English varieties, particularly in isolated or mountainous regions in the southern United States, according to the American Heritage Dictionary. So of a night or at night, when referring to a repeated action. So they simply start calling them of a night. Or mother would tell us of a day to go see if the chickens had laid eggs. And this is all over Shakespeare, by the way. In any case, these prepositional oddities are found across generations in the speech of both Jefferson men and women. Okay, the next construction is one that I call an either-or one construction. And it was deemed a feature of parochial talk by Norman Allison in the 1950s. And this occurs specifically with sentences containing either-or options, such as you can have cake or ice cream, one, which means you can have one or the other, not both. The feature is found among the recorded data of 3 Jefferson speakers, but long-time personal observation of farmers and residents of this feature opinions in my speech, and it's in the speech of my media family too. All right. So the specific examples that I have on tape are: the other one thought that C or C1 had done something, he or J1 haven't, talking about a particular item, and he calls me or comes early one. This particular construction is also a feature that spans age, gender, and educational categories. Last but not least for these, we've got intensifying right, which is one of my favorites. The use of right and intensity, long been associated with Southern and Appalachian speech. And just in case you don't know, in terms of semantics, it's pretty much between really and kind of. All right, so analogous to a good bit. Often it is paired with much, as in, I used to swear right much, but I don't anymore. The following Jefferson examples are from women who are in their 80s and 90s. When I